That's where he's going. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of College Blitz. I'm Russ Morgan here with my man Q from the I Hate Football podcast. Q, first off, this year has flown by. I can't believe that. I mean, we started this and we met each other about 10 minutes before the show. It's definitely hard going on. It's the second time for me not knowing what type of chemistry you had. This has been easy, but been super easy chemistry with you, nice back and forth. But we're right. The season's almost over. It's come and gone too fast. I mean, we got bowl season, and then we had the college football playoff announcement on Sunday. So this is just gone way too fast.
Way too fast, man. We said it at the beginning of the season. Then we were like, man, we're gonna blink and it's gone. And sure enough, man, we blinked and it's gone, right? But it's been a fun season. Definitely more fun. For the 12 teams that made the playoff, and it's also fun to see the Notre Dame crying Irish fans, living up to the nickname, not being in the playoff. I don't know which one I'm more amused by, is the fans or their AD. Just he's on the mic and he's just diarrhea of the mouth, and how they were betrayed and how they were this and that. It's like, come on, man, why don't you just be an adult? Be an adult. Just just accept it and move on. Now they're not playing in a bowl game and we're blah 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 blah. So man, yeah, it's definitely it's a good time to be a Canes fan. Obviously, everybody's happy they're in. Obviously, now they got to go and handle business, but definitely beats being in like the Pop-Tarts Bowl or something like that. So definitely happy for the team, the fans, the coach, the city. I think everybody's excited, and hopefully they're going to go and they deserve to. They're gonna go and show people that they deserve to be in the playoff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, speaking of that, we had the rankings come out. Indiana won. Ohio State stayed at 2 after that great game the other day, losing to Indiana, Ohio State. They stayed at 2. Georgia at 3, Texas Tech at 4, Oregon at 5, Ole Miss at 6, Texas A&M 7, Oklahoma at 8, Alabama State Pat at 9, which Miami moved into 10, and then we have Tulane and James Madison, which I think I got a couple Notre Dame fans, and I get the anger. Okay, first off, I got no problem with the Miami Hurricanes. I hate the Miami Dolphins. I don't really care about the Hurricanes at all. Like, I'm just coming at you as a pure fan. My team is Arizona. And I love Arizona, but they're not the greatest historical football team. I heard all last year, and don't get me wrong, I like the guys on the Caneswear podcast. I think there is. I met a couple of them and been on them. I think they're good guys. All last year leading up to the Canes not getting knocked out, not being in the rankings, Alabama's over, bitching and moaning about Alabama getting in. First off, the ACC is trash. I'm sorry. I think Miami is obviously the best team there, but it is a garbage conference right now.
Mm-hmm.
Second, I'm sorry, Q. You kind of took in strides coming into the rankings before Sunday. That, hey, you gotta wait till it plays out. The Miami fans were bitching and moaning until Sunday. But what rightfully so, they should have been in. They made the committee made the corrections. Head to head's got to matter. But and now you see it vice versa. I'm like, all right, like I get it. As a fan, we're obviously, none of us are part of it. We're pissed off our team didn't make it. But unlike now I'm seeing, we're going at Miami Notre Dame fans who are bitching and moaning not making it. The AD, to me, I'm like, sit down, just shut the hell up. I get it if for the team deciding not to play. If that's the team's decision, that's fine. No one's came out and said that. They're just blaming Notre Dame for pouting. But I mean, like there's two issues I have with the one main issue is you couldn't, which on both sides doesn't make sense. You couldn't punish a team like Alabama that goes to play in the conference title game, beats Georgia in the regular season, loses. I would have took them out after that bad loss, but you can't set that precedent if, hey, we made their conference title game, we beat this team in the regular season, oh, we lose in the conference title game, we're out. Then that would set the precedent. Why would I go play the conference title game if I'm in before? Second, but on the other side, BYU had a better strength of schedule. I know we both don't see it that way, but if you're going off of what it is, BYU had a better strength of schedule than Miami and Notre Dame. So on one side, they do it correct with Alabama. You don't want to set the precedent of a team that, hey, you're going to get knocked out for playing an extra game. But on the other side, BYU's got just as much as grudge as Notre Dame. They're like, hey, we were 11-1 going in. We lost. Why is it right for them and not right for us? Now, I think on the other thing, I know we differ on this. The group of five is really messing me up now. Like, I'm happy they got one in a deserving year. Like last year, I think Boise State deserved it. Did they deserve the bye? No. You're telling me JMU, I really like the story going from an FCS to the FBS, but do either of those teams deserve it? I think they got to either.
Russ, do me a favor. I'm sorry to interrupt everybody. Just give me 2 seconds. I gotta plug this computer before it dies. I'm sorry. Hold on.
Oh, I'll get. I just think, in my opinion, you gotta set some precedents. We're not just giving the Fs and group of five team just an in just to get in. I'm sorry. As I'm seeing it from this year and last year, this 12-team playoff's been a fail. I'm not saying, in my opinion, it's been a fail altogether. It's not been successful. I look at football in general, so it means I want good games every time I go. I want the 12 best teams. Just because I got one good game here, I mean, like last year, the first round of the playoffs was dog shit. So, I mean, that's where I come. I just, to get the group of five, I know Q had to make sure he plugged in his computer before we don't want to cut out. But I was saying, Q, I think, in my opinion, AD, how we doing? Thanks for tuning in, man. We always appreciate you.
AD.
Thank God you tuned in after my Miami rant. It wasn't bad. I got nothing against the Hurricanes. I don't like the Dolphins. Nothing against the Hurricanes. I think they just like. I think at the end of the day, my problem is this 12-team playoff. And maybe it could change. I don't think it's been a successful. Last year was not successful. I didn't get good games until the last four teams. I want a good. I don't think we're going to get that too. You're telling me JMU or Tulane is going to be able to compete? Now, we might get some better games. I think this year we should get some better games, the teams. But I don't think it's been successful. And I even said, I went on Sammy's show the other day. It's our fault. It's us as fans in general, because we always complain. We want more replay. NBA's now starting to die. We want more teams because we don't like the BCS. So we want more. We want 4. We're always going to want more. So now they're saying 14 to 16 teams. It's not going to be good. Maybe 14, but in years like this, 14 would work. But in other years, it wouldn't. Like you're telling me last year, 14 or 16 teams getting to the playoffs would have worked. Last year, we might have had 5 teams that could have, 3 or 4 teams that could have won it. Now this year is different. But you're telling me next year that would be the same? You don't know. I just think the 12-team playoffs kind of been a failure.
Well, I mean, let's start. Let's kind of start at the very beginning, right? In terms of the gripes, right, that are being had, right? Are they justified or are they not, right? The only gripe really that I see, if you're a Notre Dame fan, right, justifiably, right, you can gripe all you want. If you're telling me, well, they've got a gripe, okay, you can have a gripe with, obviously, first and foremost, you're going to start with the college football playoff committee. Obviously, they left you out. Second, in terms of teams, you're looking at the teams that you're comparing yourself against. One, Miami, right? And that's kind of where the debate began, right? When you're looking at strength of schedule, strength of record, you're looking at all the head-to-head, all the common opponents, right? Where Miami was better than you in 3 out of 4 of them, and the one that you were better in, they literally had a lacrosse player starting at quarterback, right? So they literally couldn't move the ball against you, and you ended up kicking the hell out of them, right? But every other game Miami showed better than you against common opponents. And then the prevailing metric of everything is they beat you head to head, right? So right there you lost that one. In terms of the BYU side of things, man, the strength of schedule, strength of record, and everything. I am not sure how it is that works out. I mean, I don't know if they're just giving BYU a whole ton of credit for having played Texas Tech twice, but that schedule, man, you look at it, and I mean that is not an impressive schedule, right? Not an impressive schedule at all, right? They had Arizona kind of get ranked there at the end of the season, so I guess that probably helped them out a little bit. But you're looking around at everything else, and their best win was Utah, I guess, was probably their best win, right? And so again, overall, not an impressive schedule. Not surprised they got left out. They lost twice against the same team. Got smoked twice against the same team. I'm not saying BYU's not a good team. I don't think they're a college football playoff team when you're taking everything into consideration. My biggest gripe, and I know a lot of people, were really hammering home this point where it's like Alabama. My biggest gripe with Alabama is they were, not only did they get smoked in the SEC title game, and I get what the precedent is in terms of, oh, listen, we don't penalize teams and everything like that from when they lose in the playoff and when they lose in the conference title game. Which, listen, if we're being honest, right? Breaking news here on the show. Sharon Moore from Michigan just got fired.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Okay.
That is unexpected right there. Holy hell. I did not expect to see that.
Nope. I mean,
man.
Lane, take note. These football programs you go to don't take 9-win seasons aren't good.
That is wild. I did not expect, of all the things I thought I'd see today, I did not expect to see Sharon Moore getting fired in Michigan. That's crazy. Anyway, when you're looking at the Alabama side of things, listen, first and foremost, let's not forget, back when it was still the 14 playoff, they lost an SEC title game and got dropped out of the playoff. So this thing
Georgia,
about their
it was Georgia.
No, I'm sorry, Georgia, exactly. Georgia lost
an SEC team.
An SEC team. So there is precedence for that, right? I think we're being short-sighted in terms of like, the 12-team playoff and the whole deal, right? You got to remember it's only the second year of it, but there is precedence for a team dropping after losing their conference title game, right? But then again, going back to Alabama, is you're looking at an Alabama team, right? 3 losses. I get the strength of everything, strength of schedule, strength of record, who they beat, yada yada yada. But they lost to a not good FSU team, right? And I think that's putting it mildly. They lost that first game of the season. We can't forget that. They beat Georgia in a game that Georgia really had no business losing. And I get they won. I understand that. But if you look at the game, if you anybody who, if you went back to watch it or whatever, if you watch it, live when it was happening, that was a game that Georgia really and truly, shouldn't have lost, right? It was just weird, like the penalties and, kind of the whole deal. But it was a weird game the way it went, and again, at the end of the day, listen, Bama won the game. Listen, you applaud them, and you keep it moving, right? But kind of fluky win, in my opinion. And then not only do they get smoked by that same Georgia team in the title game, right, which is, I think, more of a true indicator of where both of those teams are at right now, where Georgia has ascended since that loss. Alabama has descended truly since, slowly has descended since that win. But you're looking at it and you're going, okay, not only did they get smoked in that game, but also coming into that game, they hadn't looked good in like a month and a half, right? Ty Simpson, everybody was hyping Ty Simpson at the beginning of the season, right? And justifiably so. He had played really well, but he's kind of fallen back to earth. That team really can't run the ball, right? On defense, they're not good. They're getting the ball run on them. They've got injuries and so on and so forth. So when you're looking at, one of the things that they use in order to rank these teams is like the eye test and where the teams are currently at and how they're playing and the whole deal. So a lot of that stuff to me really worked out in a way that I think should have affected Alabama personally, right? So, but again, I didn't have a dog in that particular fight, honestly, right? So, when I'm watching the playoffs and I saw, and I'm seeing, the countdown, obviously they're counting down from 1, and Alabama, show up as 9, I went, oh, well, here we go. This is going to be interesting, because if Alabama's 9, right, that means, they're to me, I was like, okay, they're going to put Miami at 10 and they're going to leave out Notre Dame. Sure enough, that's how it plays out. And so, again, listen, man, for all the griping and the whole deal, now we move over to Notre Dame, and again, the 2 games that they lost, right, were the 2 best teams they played. They lost to Texas A&M. They lost to Miami, right? Then they go on this 10-game win streak. And then when you look at the schedule, right, it's a schedule that isn't impressive, right? They beat USC, but who else did they beat, right? Then they beat 5 teams with 8 losses, at least, if I'm not mistaken. It was something along those lines. They beat 7 or 8 teams that were 100 or worse in defense. And so, to listen to that dude, to the AD of Notre Dame, Pete Bavacqua, I think is his name, talk about, how they went on one of the greatest, runs in the history of one of the best 10-game runs in the history of college football. It's like, come on, man. Like, what are you really doing? Like, I get you're hyping your team and everything, and that's fine. You're entitled to do so. But just a lot of the stuff that was kind of coming out of that Notre Dame camp, to me, just really was in bad faith, was just really trying to get people to focus on the wrong things. When you're looking at the things that mattered, Notre Dame had to be left out, I think, in the grand scheme of things. Could I have justified leaving Alabama out? I could have, right? But honestly, Notre Dame was the one that had to stay out, right? And so you move forward and you're looking at, okay, the 12-team playoff. I get last year, maybe at the early stages, it was just weird the way they were ranked and everything because of the auto bids of the conference champions. And really and truly, honestly, man, what I would change if we really, I think the adding JMU and adding Tulane to it, honestly, I think if you want to be inclusive, I think we're being inclusive and we're making inclusivity more important than getting the best teams into the field, if we're being honest, right? And so, again, listen, if you want to be inclusive, you know what? Give me the highest ranked group of 5 team. How about that? The highest ranked group of 5 team, you know what? Put them in. I'm not worried about it. Essentially, if you're the number 1 seed, it's almost like a bye, right? You play the number 12 team, which is the group of 5 participant. And essentially it's like you play, but you got to bye, right? If we want to make everybody play, I know the top 4 seeds kind of get a, that first round bye. But, again, if we continue to move on, if we make it 16 teams, I'm sure there's still going to be byes and everything. But somehow, some way, if you want to be inclusive, you want to include the group of 5, the highest ranked G5 team, and call it a day. Two group of 5 teams, honestly, I think I disagree with it. And then on top of that, you're giving it to the number 5 team. You're giving them to the number 6 team. I don't know, man. Something has to change. I don't have an issue with the 12-team playoff, honestly. I'm sure at some point we're probably going to move to 16, if I'm being honest. But again, I don't have an issue with the 12-team playoff. The more games, the better. As far as I'm concerned, I want to see more playoff games. And then at the end of the day, man, when you're looking at forecasting games, it's hard to really forecast. Ole Miss is going to win, right? And that's the other thing. We've already seen that game. They won by 5 touchdowns. And then, JMU, I would be shocked if they score double digits against Oregon. So when you're looking at all those things being present, man, to me, give me as many games as you can give me, in terms of a playoff, obviously within reason. But at the end of the day, we have to find a way to eliminate the two G5 teams. I think, again, make it one. I don't think two should be in. And then on top of that, to me, when you're taking all things into consideration, you're looking at the field and again, find some way to adjust the buys or how many teams get in or something like that. But again, leave the G5 teams out, make it one G5 team, I should say. And then listen, one thing I think they should have taken into consideration is eliminate the rematches, right? Because we've seen Ole Miss and Tulane, and then we've seen Alabama and Oklahoma. So to me, I think there should have been some consideration involved in that. Hey, listen, all we got to do is, if we're just switching around, like, what harm is there in switching, JMU and Tulane, right? Switch James Madison and Tulane. That way you don't have a rematch, and you have nobody but, the fans of those two teams wanting to tune into that game, because it's not going to be a game, right? So to me, I feel like they should have switched Tulane and JMU, so made it Tulane versus Oregon, JMU versus Ole Miss. And then to me, I think they should have, instead of a rematch of Alabama and Oklahoma, make it so that, Miami goes to Oklahoma and well, I don't know, Alabama and I don't know, something. But the rematches I didn't want to see. So, that's kind of, my spiel on
Tulane's 17.5-point dog right now. JMU's a 21.5 dog. I think with the G5, it's obviously we can agree the ACC was not the best conference this year. Obviously we saw Duke. I mean, now 8-5 team won the ACC, so it's unprecedented for a year like this. You usually wouldn't have this, but it's just the getting in just to get it. It's not. Yeah, it's telling the JMU, who would have been the team that would have been left out, that hey, you're getting in to get in. They're not set up to succeed. The only thing at the end of the day is they're getting money for being in the college football playoff. Is it more important to have money or to go in, play a bowl game that you can win, because they would have got a good bowl game, and still you get money from that? I mean, now they're going to get $4 million for the Sun Belt's going to get, they're going to get $4 million for playing in the first round. That they don't have, that I still think they have to share with the Sun Belt.
Yeah, I would figure it, and I can't tell you,
because Notre Dame last year basically came out with like $25 million.
Yeah, I can't tell you every detail of whatever rev share that is, but yeah, I would imagine, especially, and I think that goes kind of across the board. I would imagine that all those teams, that the money goes in the pot and it goes towards the conference, and it's part of the payout that the conference gives to all the teams. So yeah, I'm sure the Sun Belt is ecstatic, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's an extra $4 million.
So good for them, right? Like that's just my thing, right? It's good for them, but at the same time, it's not good for the product in terms of on the field, right? I mean, I'm sorry, it's not a true, best 12 teams when you're including two group of 5 teams. Again, one I'll give you, right? And again, that's all, that was all negotiated. That's the other thing, right? They're not putting a gun to anybody's head. So like, I don't want anybody to think it's like, oh, you're anti this and you're an elitist. Like, no, listen, my favorite team plays in the ACC, right? Like I get that shade gets thrown, the group of 5's way. Like, I understand it. But to me, I think it's right when, especially you're looking at these schedules that these guys are playing, bro. They're not playing, they're not. They might play, a couple of Power 4 teams, and they're losing, right? And so, again, South Florida beat, a couple Power 4 teams and everything like that, and but again, I saw the schedule for James Madison, and I was like, come on, man.
If you just tuned in, we broke it. My man Q broke it earlier, but Michigan did fire Sharon Moore. They found credible evidence was found that Coach Moore engaged in inappropriate relationships with staff members. So I don't know what that means, but
let me add, like, how is it that these dudes, right? I mean, why is it that these coaches always want to put themselves in position to end up like this? I don't understand. I don't understand. Like somebody help me. Look, I'm a man. I understand, being tempted, right, by women. I get it. I understand it. But how is it that these guys continuously put themselves in these positions to get canned over dealing with women in the school or in the athletic department? Like,
All I know is college.
It's so ridiculous. That is so
College
ridiculous.
college in the state of Michigan. College don't really have the best track record with inappropriate behavior.
That's Michigan State. Like, dude, Mel Tucker, right? Mel Tucker was doing the same thing. They got his ass, and so
They also got the athletic trained, what's his name, the Olympic gymnast athletic, that who's above all of them.
Yeah. That one, that was not as funny, just given the
no, not funny.
Yeah. But to me, like these guys that are going, because again, remember Mel Tucker, if you remember at Michigan State, Mel Tucker was kind of the same thing, right? And I don't remember all the intricate details to the Mel Tucker deal, but his was the same deal. Like they got rid of him with cause because of messing with a staff member, like somebody from the school or something. So it's like, I don't understand, man, when you're looking at, a job that people would absolutely kill for, and you're making just millions and millions. I don't know what Sharon Moore was making at Michigan. I would imagine he had to have been making, somewhere in, I mean, $8-9 million somewhere around there he had to be making, right? So now you're looking at this dude who gets fired with cause, which means what? What does that mean, Russ? What does getting fired with cause mean? What does that mean?
Probable evidence, dude. Probable evidence. It means.
Well, no. What does that mean for that money? It's gone. It's gone. Because being fired with cause, you're not getting that money. You're not getting the money.
We see this a lot, and obviously we're not millionaires. We don't have this. I don't know why, and this goes in all sports, that they feel like they're invincible, and they can do these things. Yeah, no one to get. I'm like, but at the end of the day, you got to find out. You're gonna lose. And we've seen this happen time after time. I don't know what it is. You got a job that people would kill for, and I'm telling you that Michigan job is going to be very
sought after, highly sought after,
very sought after. And yes, Michigan has been a couple, a down year after Jim Harbaugh left, but they were good this year. They're very good. They're coming, they're starting to look a lot better. So it's going to be a sought after job. We did have Matt Campbell did sign with Penn State, which is a guy who, Penn State, in my opinion, was effing everything up. I'm like, what the hell is Penn State doing here? Now everybody's leaving. But they probably get the guy everybody's wanted for years, not just in college football. You throw in the NFL, Matt Campbell's name has been thrown around, and they get that guy. So, I mean, I know Penn State's in shambles right now because their recruiting class is down there.
They signed like 3 players.
Yeah.
They signed like 3 players.
Talk about like group of 5. They're at the bottom half of the top.
They were down there sandwiched between like Prairie View, A&M, and like who knows who else. Like it literally, like they were like right above like Prairie View, A&M in terms of their class recruiting ranking. So
yeah, Miami Sports 72. I don't think Jeremiah Smith's leaving Columbus anytime soon. I don't know about CJ Bailey.
Listen, I don't know about the CJ Bailey part of things. I mean, I like the kid. I think he would be good in Shannon Dawson's offense. Jeremiah Smith, man, I just don't see it happening, man. I get the Brian Hartline, dynamic. I'm just not somebody who sees Jeremiah Smith leaving Ohio State, man. I mean, he's what he's done there. He's won a title, right? He's who knows if things break for them and see how things go. And he's got a chance to repeat in terms of a national championship. He's a guy now who's got a legit quarterback in Julian Sayin. The familiarity is there, the money's there, the notoriety is there, the winning is there. I get that people, that one hurts, that one stings. I get people still haven't gotten over him leaving. the South Florida area. But at the end of the day, man, I think he's a guy who's he's going to stay at Ohio State. He's got one more year before he enters the draft. If you're even under the most optimistic of circumstances as a Miami fan, right now, I know nobody's focused on that, right? But just as a talking point, you're looking at whenever the season ends, nobody knows who the quarterback of Miami is going to be. Now, you can be optimistic, about certain, names maybe being floated out there. The name Sam Levitt continues to be a hot one, associated with Miami. He's a guy who wasn't at the team banquet the other day from all reports. And Kenny Dillingham, the coach, said, he wishes Sam the best and whatever, his future holds. So, everybody is of the thinking and of the belief that, he's a guy who's not going to return to Arizona State. Obviously, a guy who, is going to have a robust market, I would imagine. And we'll see how it goes, man. He's a kid who's from Oregon. So who knows if Dante Moore leaves, if he's a guy who maybe lands at Oregon, he's a guy who, gets interest from Miami and lands there. Who knows? I think it's too early to tell. But you're looking at, again, going back to Jeremiah Smith, man, I would be, at this point, people need to let that go. Yeah, people need to let that go. Jeremiah Smith isn't leaving Ohio State.
The only place he's going, if it ain't Columbus, it's the NFL.
The NFL, exactly, yeah. He's got one more year because he's a true sophomore, so he's got one more year before he's able to enter the draft. I don't think he's a guy who's going to do like a Jamar Chase.
Jamar Chase and sit out? I don't think
he doesn't strike me, literally, right? Great minds think alike, right? So we were thinking about Jamar Chase immediately. That came to mind. He doesn't strike me as a guy, no knock against Jamar Chase. I think Jamar Chase is just, a different personality. And listen, it worked out for him, right? It worked out for Jamar Chase. In my opinion, he's the best receiver in the NFL. And, a guy who got drafted high, who's been paid. So obviously it worked out for him. I just don't see Jeremiah Smith as a guy who's going to pull that. Oh, I'm going to sit out to get ready for the draft. I don't see it. I just don't think it's in his personality to do so. But who knows, man? Weirder things have happened. And in this age of college football, you can't really look at it and go, oh, that's impossible. It won't happen. Because listen, I didn't expect Sharon Moore to be fired today, and it happened. That's wild.
That wasn't even on my backup bingo card.
That is crazy. So, again, that's my thing going back to that, man, is listen, when they start talking about, credible evidence and cause, and that's the key phrase. With cause is the key phrase there, because again, we all know, the buyouts that Jimbo Fisher had. We all know, the buyout that who was a big one.
Scott Frost got a big one too.
Yeah, but James Franklin got a big one.
Got a big one.
All these guys that are getting these big buyouts, in order to walk, is listen. Those guys are being fired because of performance, right? In terms of, hey, listen, we're unhappy with you. We're going to fire you, but you're still getting all that money. When you start using the with cause phrase, they purposely throw that in there, because now that means that money that was coming to you is no longer coming to you. Like, they're firing you and they're keeping all that money that you had signed for. So it's going to be really interesting to see how it is that this thing plays out. Like, there wasn't even a smoke leading to fire. This was just like, hey, breaking news, Sharon Moore's fired. So, they kept this thing under wraps, and we'll see what comes of this. I'm sure we haven't heard the end of it. This is just the beginning, but it's going to be really interesting to see. I would imagine Sharon Moore and his reps are going to fight this.
Do you got a name you're thinking, or is it just kind of like?
It's so early, man. It's so early, and man, I don't know, man. Are there still any open jobs right now? Because the Penn State one was like the last major one, right? But all these schools, UCLA, UAB, Kentucky, Auburn, all those schools have filled jobs, right? So, I don't know. I know Michigan's, they like to get a Michigan man. They like a Michigan man there. I don't know who they go from. I mean, I don't know where they would pick that from. I mean, Michigan's been great since Jim Harbaugh came, but the guy at Virginia did I can't remember his name off, but I don't think that's a Michigan man right there. I think off the top of my head, that's probably the best hire from college, one of the better hires from college football, even though after a bad loss to Duke. But I don't know. I don't know where they go, just because they like to hire a Michigan guy.
So
yeah, and listen, man, I think I get certain schools are kind of in that mode, right, where they're just like, oh, we need one of our guys, we need one of our guys. 'Cause I know, I can't tell you how many times, at Miami, right, it was one of, we need a Miami guy, and obviously they landed one, in Mario Cristobal. I don't know, man. Again, man, with where we're at in the season, and so many of the top guys already having been scooped up and hired and everything. I'm curious, man. I'm really curious as somebody who really doesn't care about Michigan, but obviously a one of your blue bloods, one of your bigger programs in the country. Going to be really interesting to see how they address this one, man. I'm genuinely interested in who could be in play for Michigan. Really genuinely interested.
We will definitely be getting into that after the playoffs because we got. I think that's the one thing with this college football bowl season is dead. All right, in my opinion, it's dead. The 12-team playoffs has ruined college, and I love it. When I wake up on New Year's Day, I'm like, I know I'm going to see the Rose Bowl. I'm a California guy. I think the Rose Bowl was the best bowl game there is. Right there in Pasadena, sun coming down from San Gabriel Mountains. I'm sorry, Rose Bowl is the best bowl game there is. There's nothing better than that. There's a reason they call it the granddaddy of them all. Q.
You will still have the Rose Bowl. You will still have the Rose Bowl on Thursday, January 1st. You will have the winner of Oklahoma, Alabama playing Indiana in the Rose Bowl. So you still have a Big Ten team, in the Rose Bowl, right? There's still that. It's not going to be a Big Ten Pac-12, type of affair. But you still got a Big Ten team in there in Indiana.
But you just brought up Alabama, Oklahoma there. So we got the rematch. Looking at this matchup going into the year, before we're seeing there, you're going in. You see Alabama starting the year off after the first couple wins. Unbelievable quarterback play. Ty Simpson really put himself on the map for the NFL. John Mateer was considered he could be a first overall first quarterback off of the board. But now going into today's day and age, quarterback play's been terrible. Ty Simpson probably needs another year of college football, if we're all being honest. But if you look at the quarterback class in the NFL today, he could still be a first-round pick. That what they're projecting. John Mateer has not been the same since he came back from that thumb injury. What are you expecting? I mean, I know what I'm expecting in this game. I mean, it's going to be a nasty SEC football game. But what's going to be the difference maker? What's going to be the keys for victories from Alabama and Oklahoma?
To me, going in, I guess before the keys, right? Listen, I guess let's go with the obvious, right? Which quarterback is going to be able to show that what they've put on tape the last 6 weeks isn't who they truly are, right? You're looking at a guy in Mateer who, man, since the Red River rivalry, has right before that, right? Because he was injured and the whole deal, but he came back in that game, and since then, dude, he just has not been good. Has not been good. Everybody was wondering whether he came back too quick. He probably came back too quick. Right now, they're in the playoff, and the whole deal. So, I guess it's up to everybody to debate whether it was worth it or not at the end of the day, right? I'm sure he felt some pressure to come back and everything like that, but I think he hasn't looked good, and then Ty Simpson. He did look good. He hasn't looked good, in the recent past. And so, let's see which one of those guys can break free from this, crappy streak that they've been on, and play well and move on to the next round.
It's two teams backing into the college football playoff. Yes, they've been getting wins. Alabama, minus the Georgia, they've been winning. Oklahoma, the same team, but they are back. They're not at full strength. I mean, the one thing you see at Alabama in recent, in history is they've always had a very strong running game. They have zero running game. I mean, Miller's got 493 yards. Was it Dax Hill or Daniel Hill's got 290? I mean, you look at Alabama in history, they've always had a dominant run game, and the quarterback, hey, you make 2 or 3 plays to keep us there, and our run game's gonna the run game for Alabama is non-existent.
Well, and that's the problem, right? Is just like you mentioned, the previous title teams with Alabama have all started up front, right? They've all had, great O-line, opening the holes for great running backs. And this year with Jam Miller being hurt, and so on and so forth. Right now, the pressure has kind of, has fallen on the quarterback, right, to make things happen. And he's a guy who's, he's mobile, right? Ty Simpson is a mobile guy, but at the same time, Ty Simpson is a guy, he's not a big dude, right? Ty Simpson isn't Lenore Sellers, where you want him, turning the corner, lowering his head and running into linebacker, right? So, he runs when he has to and when he needs to, but I don't think Ryan Grubb and Kalen DeBoer want that dude, dropping back and running the ball, 15, 16 times a game.
Ty Simpson was the number 1 rated dual threat quarterback in his class.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it.
I mean, that doesn't surprise me, but I'm like, but it's
he's a dual threat guy. It's a guy who moves, right? Again, but he's not a big dude, right?
Oh, he's
like Lenore. Yeah, Lenore Sellers is 230, right? Ty Simpson is not, right? And so again, he's a guy
208. So definitely.
Yeah, and I'd say he's probably closer to 200 than 210.
If they exaggerate a little bit.
Of course, like he may have weighed 208 at some point. I don't think he weighs 208 now. Like Ty Simpson, like I said, I'm not saying he's slight necessarily, but Ty Simpson is not a big dude. And so
again, it's an Oklahoma defense, which is the reason Oklahoma's in the playoffs now since Mateer got hurt. The reason they went 10-2 is Brett Venables has his defense, and that defense is nasty.
Yep.
But
they've got a guy who can run. They got a guy like Mateer. Mateer is a sturdy dude. You look at Mateer, like from the waist down, he's a guy who's, he's like big. He's got big legs, right? He's got like a big bottom half. Really big thighs
Mateer is 6'1", but he's 224.
There you go. And he looks it. Mateer looks 224. Right. He's a guy, like I said, who obviously, again, nobody wants, their taking, big time hits. But Mateer is a guy who is better suited, to take that punishment. Right. And so, again, man, I think Oklahoma, because of that defense, I think Mateer does just enough. Even though, again, I don't think it's going to be a very high scoring game. But if you made me choose, honestly, I'd probably go Oklahoma in that game. They're at home.
Yeah, Norman, that's going to be rocking.
Yeah, they're at home. Again, but do I think that they're going to set the world on fire on offense? No, I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, yeah, I'm with you. I think Norman's, the rematch is a little distant. I would have liked to see maybe not a rematch, but you can't really do anything about that. I mean, if you're putting them at 9, they're 8. But being in Norman, I think, Mateer's been so far removed from his injury, and he's going to have, another 10 days off. He should be good to go. But, I mean, Alabama is definitely not looking like Alabama. Tyson, I think that defense wins championships. I don't think they can win. But in the case of this game, they hang their hat on defense, which what Brett Venables wants. It's going to really come down to which quarterback's going to be able to make a big play. Can you get me 2 or 3 big, first downs to keep it going, because that's what they need. But I would lean I'd lean more Oklahoma, definitely having being in Norman. I know my family wants Oklahoma. My sister went to OU, so I got to go with you. I gotta root go OU on the family side.
Boomer Sooner.
What was it? They go Boomer
Sooner.
Yeah. So I got to go there. But I mean, we got playoff football. But that'll be 8 Eastern. I'll be on the West Coast. So it'll be 5 Pacific. Only game on Friday. The first game on Saturday, which actually I love being on the West Coast, because the first game on Saturday is at 9 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
I literally wake up, eat my breakfast, sit down, have my coffee, watch some college football. I love it. But then we got Miami coming in at 10-2 to go to College Station to play 11-1 Texas A&M. Now we all know this. Most everybody on this network on FTSN Extra, my co-host here Q, has a lot riding on this game. Miami. They get the last bid is I guess what they say. They got the last in. I know. I was on because we had the Jets Dolphins. It turned out to be a shit show because we had Brady Cook, as a quarterback. But I went home and
so bad.
Yeah, it got
so bad. It's my God.
But
I was watching that game. I was thinking, I was like, damn, I bet Russ is not happy right now.
I jumped on earlier. I kind of just was like, "Hey, Bobby, come on, man, send me the link." Just kind of messing with him, and he did. And we brought up. I was like, "Dude," we started talking college football. I'm like, "What are you expecting?" I'm like, "Well, Wednesday is going one of two ways. It's going to be my man Q is going to be in a good mood, or he's going to be pissed." Either way, it's going to be good. There's no podcasting, but it could be up or down either way. But yeah, I mean, they get that 10 seed. Texas A&M did coming off a loss, losing to Texas, but you're going to get that great Mike Elko defense. They're going to be prepared to the teeth for seeing Carson Beck. What are your expectations going into this game?
Man, it's tough. This one's tough, and I've heard a lot of Miami fans, man, clamoring like, "Oh man, we're gonna da 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 da." Look, I think when you're looking at the matchup, I think you start just like with everything. Starts at the quarterback position. Carson Beck is a guy who's been in big games before. He's been on big games on the road, big games in the SEC, and so to me, I'm happy that Miami's got a guy at quarterback that who's experienced that, right? He's the moment won't be too big for him, right? He's a guy who, I know what a couple of games have shown this year, but I think by and large, if we're being 100% honest and objective about what Carson Beck has been this year, I think he's been really good overall, right? He's had he had a couple games where he struggled a little bit, which, obviously again, multiple picks and everything like that, which, again, I get, but when you're looking at the totality of the season and what it is that he's shown, right? You have to be happy if you're a Miami fan, because again, you got a guy who's been there and done that, right? In terms of how the teams match up, I think when you're talking about Carson Beck and what it is that he's going to have to, deal with, and he's going to deal with a pass rush who I believe is number one in the country in sacks, right? Luckily, you have the best pass blocking O-line, if I'm not mistaken, overall, and in the country blocking for you. So again, strength on strength. So I think, they're a team that hopefully, if you're Shannon Dawson, I think you're bringing the run game with you, because I think, as good as Texas A&M is, with the pass rush and everything, I think they're a team that you can run on, right? And so I think Miami's built for that. I think they're going to, want to slow down that pass rush that Texas A&M is bringing. And so I think, I would imagine A&M, should be getting ready to get a heavy dose of the run, I'm assuming. So, on offense, right? In terms of defense, you're talking a pass rush. Miami better bring their pass rush with them, right? Because, they better be disciplined, because if they're not, a guy like Marcel Reed can break one on you. He can get outside and he can make you pay. So I would venture to guess that if you're on defense for Miami, I think you have to get out of this mentality, right? For example, the most recent game we saw them play was Pitt. And what did we see against Pitt? They collapsed that pocket, and Heinzel, who's the quarterback at Pitt, he's a guy who's mobile, right? He's not Marcel Reed. He's a guy but he is mobile, right? But he's a guy who was more easy to find. Now, I think against Texas A&M, I think they're going to have to adjust the pass rush a little bit and be content with keeping him in the pocket, right? Because now when he breaks the pocket, he's a guy who can run. He's a guy who can scramble really well, and he's a guy who's going to make you pay. So, I would imagine that the message from Corey Heatherman, and Jason Taylor and everybody, coming into that game is going to be, listen, let's not get greedy about sacks, right? Let's make sure that we're being disciplined, and we're not running by this guy so he can get behind us and kill our guys, down the field and be one-on-one with linebackers.
with the running quarterback, you can't get up those edge rushers can't get up the field.
Yeah, you have to be
give
disciplined.
Marcel Reed a lane, he's gone.
Yeah, you can't go, hunting sacks, right? You have to know who you're playing against. And, you have to be, a guy like it. Listen, if I'm the Miami defense, I want him to stay in the pocket, right? I think Marcel Reed is really good, but I think Marcel Reed is also a guy that can be undisciplined and will throw some picks and everything like that. So again, he's throwing to two really good receivers, and Mario Craver and Casey Concepcion, two transfers that they definitely, hit the jackpot in the offseason. Ruben Owens is really good at running back. So listen, anybody thinking that this game, is going to be, listen, like, I hope I'm wrong. Like, I hope it's a beatdown, right? But I don't see it happening, right? I think it's going to be a really close game. I think what they have going for them is even though they're on the road, again, it's not a night game, which obviously a night game would kind of change things over there. But again, I think it's a 12 o'clock kick. I think during the day, they've been on the road now. I mean, they've been at Pittsburgh and they've been at SMU and the whole deal for like early kicks. So I mean, again, I don't think it's going to be anything different for them. But I think all in all, I think it's going to be a tough game. I have Miami winning it. But am I somebody who's going into this thing and yawning and kicking back and going, all right, let's just see how much we win by? No, I'm definitely not in the camp of people who think this is going to be.
I just want a good football game. I don't care who wins.
I don't want a good football game. I don't want
a good game.
I want a snoozer that's over by halftime. But unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to get that.
Texas A&M did get some good news. Marcel Reed is coming back next year, so he will be back next year. So they did get a little good news. But I mean, this is a team that one bad game. And now they're in this situation. They got to play, right on December 20th at 11
a.m. local time. 11 a.m. local time. Sure.
So, I mean, I think it's going to be a great game. I mean, I think Miami's going to be ready to go. You definitely have the experience as your quarterback, but we all see what Mike Elko does as a coach. He did it at Duke. He's done it at Texas A&M. They don't look past anybody. So, I mean, I think it's going to be a great game. We got two great defensive guys going at it, defensive teams playing. So, I mean, it could be at the end of the day, this could be a defensive ball game, which I would not, a 23-20, 27-24 type of game, which is crazy to think that that's a defensive ball game, but it is. But
these days. These days, again, man, those are two offenses that can score, right? I mean, I think you're looking at, the line of scrimmage. They're both really good. You're looking at, two really good quarterbacks. You're looking at a team with, that they're good at receiver. They're good at running back. They're good at defensive end, so on and so forth, right? And so I think both teams have also showed that you can throw on them, from time to time. I think Texas A&M has showed you can throw on them. I think Miami has shown. They struggled against SMU. They gave up over 300 yards passing when they went to play at SMU. And so, again, man, it's going to be really interesting to me to see, how these quarterbacks perform, under pressure and everything. And again, I think Marcel Reed, granted, listen, Carson Beck has shown that, he's not immune to throwing picks, when he's pressured and everything. But, he showed really well the last, 5, weeks or so of the season. But Marcel Reed is a guy who I think will make mistakes. I think if his guys aren't open and everything, I think he's a guy who, if he can't run, he'll panic, and I think he'll throw a pick or two if he's pressured. So again, I think it's going to be a lot of strength on strength. Excuse me, and I think it's going to be a good game.
Big on big for sure.
Yeah.
And then we go into the last two games, which we both expect a snooze fest with Tulane, Ole Miss, the rematch. Yes, they do have the a new head coach with Pete Golding, right?
Yep. They're
and then we got
who's this? 501. Let's see, as a Buckeye fan, what a glorious day it is for Ohio State. All I can do is laugh and at the news. Yeah, man. Hey, it's good to be on top, man. It's good to be on top, and clearly,
and then we got
Ohio State.
So JMU, a few years removed from moving up from the FCS. That's not even dominated by JMU and getting to the playoff, but I'm not expecting much from JMU going to Eugene. I don't even really want to talk that much about these games because I'm not expecting much. I won't be putting any money on these games. I did put some money on college football and lost every parlay I had by one leg. I did bet on Miami in one leg. I had the Pitt Miami game. I took down the over under a little bit and took Miami to cover. So my over under was 43. They scored like 45 and they covered. But then like the next one happened. I had Virginia at 4, so I was like I had a free bet on Saturday. So I was like I just want to make some money. So I had Texas Tech. I wish I took the spread, but I was like just in case I'm going to take them to cover. I had Georgia getting some points. I'm like just in case, and then I had Indiana getting point, and I took Indiana with the points. I'm like Virginia's going to cakewalk this, so I took Virginia. I was feeling pretty going into the night game, and even though I'm like, all right, score a touchdown in overtime, that I still win $40. I'm like, and then Duke just ruined everything for me. Granted, I didn't lose any money because it was like a deposit.
Yeah.
It was a deposit match, so they gave me the free bet. So I put in the money. They gave me the $10, and I took the money out. So I did. It was free, but I was like, I could have used $40. That would have been some nice drinking money. You know?
There you go. Yeah. Get some brewskis. Be some brewskis.
Yeah, I mean, but that ended quick. But of the, I mean, obviously, no point talking about the two group of 5 teams in those two games. I think we're both in the same path that we don't see much happening there. But of the 4 bye teams, you know, Indiana, who played a hell of a game to win the Big Ten title. First outright since like 1945 or something like that. It was like an insane number. Of those 4 teams in the bye, who do you think's got the best chance of, you know, Indiana, Ohio State, Georgia, and Texas Tech? Which, hey, I'll give you credit. You did say Texas Tech in the Big 12 title game. But yeah, that was a good call.
I got that one, didn't I? I got that one.
Yeah.
Man, listen, when you're looking at the path in terms of, you know, let's say the team's on bye and obviously, you know, who would have the easiest game after that, man. Honestly, you know, I'm looking at possibly Georgia playing Ole Miss, right? And I don't know if maybe I'm wrong on that one. I think Georgia handles Ole Miss in the second round. You know, I think Indiana, you know, getting the winner of you know, Oklahoma and Alabama, you know, I can see them, you know, I can see them probably winning that offense, you know, on offense and defense, man, because those guys are, you know, we forget that Indiana scored a bunch of points, so they also play, you know, great defense. Yeah. So I can see them, depending on what that spread is in that game versus the winner of Oklahoma, Alabama, I can see, you know, Indiana kind of handling business there. You know, obviously Oregon handling JMU and then going to, you know, playing at Texas Tech or playing versus Texas Tech. That's the game I'm probably, and obviously, you know, again, aside from if Miami wins and moves on against Ohio State, that would be enormously intriguing. But of our automatics of what we know more than likely is going to happen, that Oregon-Texas Tech game, I'm really, really, really intrigued by. I'm really interested to see. Really interested to see how for real. And listen, and I don't think that they are not for real, right? I think Texas Tech, when you're looking at especially the defense, I think they're really good.
Was it offense? Chris Rodriguez? He could be. Was it their linebacker?
Yeah, I think it's not Chris. It's Curtis.
I don't know. Rodriguez.
Yeah, they call him C-Rod. I think it's.
But he could definitely be that. Could be a guy in New York for the Heisman. Texas, I won't even.
Didn't they announce a finalist? Oh, they announced a finalist, didn't they?
Oh, did they? It
was Pavia, Julian Sayin, Jeremiah Love, and
Mendoza.
And Mendoza. Those were the 4. Yeah, so Rodriguez didn't make it. But listen, he won the Butkus Award.
Now, Beach 89, I don't think Texas had a case. You lose to 3-8 Florida, I don't know.
Let me see. Yeah. Texas was robbed. No. Texas wasn't robbed, my friend. Sorry. When you're looking at the schedule, man, look, I got some good wins, but look, they got dominated. They got dominated by Florida, right? That game was not close. They got the brakes beat off them by Texas. Who else is they lost to? Granted, yeah, they beat A&M, right? I get they beat Oklahoma, so they had some good wins, man. But I think their losses, were just not good losses, man. Like I said, they got smoked in Athens.
I guess Oklahoma won Georgia, even though they got killed by Georgia. Ohio State was a good loss.
And they lost, yeah. But listen, I think way too much was made of like, yo, they're not getting penalized by losing to Ohio State. Like I don't think that was the game they're looking to go, oh, they went to Ohio State and lost, and that's why they're not getting in. No, that's not why they're not getting in. It's because they got dominated by Texas, they got dominated by Florida, and it was just too little, too late, man, in terms of what they showed and what Arch became. Yeah, he looked good at the end, but I think it was a very uneven resume when you're looking at their performances and everything, man. So. Listen, man, I got to disagree with Come Here Now Beach 89. I don't think they were robbed, man. I just think, listen, if this was a 14 team or a 16 team playoff, yeah, man, they would have been in. Vanderbilt would have been in, so on and so forth. It was so refreshing. Now that I mentioned Vanderbilt, just to kind of go off topic a little bit, it was so refreshing to hear their coach, Clark Lee, come on and say, well, we didn't do enough. We didn't do enough, right? And so it's so different than the tone of so many other teams that didn't make it in. It was so refreshing to see a guy get in front of the camera, own the fact that they didn't do enough, that they didn't get in, and say, hey, listen, man, we got to do better, right? It was so refreshing to hear that after hearing the babble coming from Notre Dame and hearing the babble coming from Sarkisian and everything like that. Like, I'm just glad that somebody stood up and owned it and went, we didn't do enough. Is what it is. We'll do better. I like that somebody had that kind of person or that kind of opinion on it and that kind of view on it and said, listen, if we would have done more, we would have gotten in. Period. So it was refreshing to see that from Clark Lee. So what did JMU is the school of Charles Haley, Gary Clark, and Scott Norwood. They have
Sammy, how we thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Listen, Charles Haley's not walking through the door. Gary Clark is not walking through the door. Scott Norwood is not walking through the door. I wouldn't want Scott Norwood, lining up for a last-second kick on my team personally. If you know, you know. They have a chance. No, they have a chance to play one extra game.
You made an enemy of everybody in upstate New York right now.
I'm sorry. Like, what do you want from me? Like, look, I could tell you with 100% certainty, I did not know Scott Norwood played at James Madison. Good for James Madison. Again, nothing against them. But now they're going to be looking for their third coach in what 4 years, 5 years, because they lost Kurt Signetti, and now they lost their current coach, which was Chesney. Was that his last name? Going to UCLA, and apparently, from everything I'm hearing, people are saying that UCLA hit it out the park. Like, apparently, this dude Bob Chesney is like an innovator. He's a guy who's a great coach, and apparently UCLA should be super ecstatic about landing this guy. I don't know anything about him.
UCLA's got to figure out where they're playing first.
Yeah, UCLA has a lot to figure out, if I'm being honest.
Because now the Rose Bowl's like, oh, we're gonna make a bunch of sky boxes, and the Rose Bowl is trying to do whatever it can to keep UCLA there. So, but I'm excited. I wish we didn't have no knock on JMU or Tulane. I wish we didn't have as many. I wish we had Notre Dame in there and a BYU or a Vanderbilt or even a Texas in there. But it is what it is. This is what we got. I'm still expecting some great football. I'm hoping. Last year we didn't have a great first week, so I'm really hopeful this first week of the college football playoffs, just great games. I don't want great quarters like we saw last year when everybody told me Texas and Arizona State was a great game. I'm like, yeah, Texas played great in the first quarter and then went away. Arizona State played like crap. I had 2 good quarters and then played terrible in the fourth. I'm like, when I think of a good football game, is it a good 4 quarters of football game. So I'm hoping we get just good 4 quarters of football. If we get extra football, I don't complain about that either. But Notre Dame Penn State was a great game. That was a great game last year.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, very good game. You know, we forget how close Penn State really was to making that title game.
Yeah.
You know what a difference a year makes, right? With James Franklin. You know,
and Texas was close too.
They were very close.
2 plays. We might have a Notre Dame national. You know, we might not have Ohio State win it all last year. So I mean, it ended up being good. I just wanted a whole. As a whole playoff, I'm like, give me good football every time I turn on the TV. I want a good game, not just a good national title game or a good semifinal game.
Yeah, I think. Listen, I think when you're looking at the bracket, you know, to me, I expect, you know, at least if you're looking at the first 4 games, you know, I definitely expect, you know, 2 good games, right? I expect. You know, I think offensively, I don't think we're going to see anything great from Alabama and Oklahoma, but I think it'll be close. And I think, you know, with Miami and Texas A&M, I think it'll be, you know, a better game offensively. You know, I think it'll be a close game. I think Oregon is going to boat race, you know, JMU, and I think Ole Miss is going to, you know, boat race Tulane like they did before. So I think, you know, the only thing that to me that's intriguing about the games, a group of 5 games, is that, you know, John Summerall, you know, is you know, he's basically coaching them and then leaving for Florida, and obviously coaching against an Ole Miss team, right, who's replacing Lane Kiffin with, you know, Pete Golding. So I think that's kind of, you know, as somebody who really follows college football, I think it's intriguing to see both of those guys like in these weird positions, right? Because it's not the norm, you know. But again, outside of that, man, I just don't expect those games to be close.
My question for you, Q: noon Eastern on December 20th. Are you going to be sitting on your edge of the seat, nervous as hell, or are you just going to be trashed? Because if it was my team, I wouldn't have a drop of alcohol and just be sitting like this.
I'm going to
need. I might have a
need.
drink or 2, but I mean, I want to be zoned.
I'm going to need alcohol to calm down that morning. I'm going to need alcohol to calm down that morning. Like I don't know if I'm going to be fit enough to go anywhere like outside of my place to watch the game. I think I'm just gonna have to. I think I'm gonna have to be home alone and watch it because I just don't know. I know I'm gonna be anxious that morning, and I don't think I'm gonna be able to go out anywhere and watch it. I'm gonna have to be home alone in front of the TV like by myself and just, you know, because if not, I'm gonna be in public and act a fool, and I don't want to do that.
Feeling on that, I watch football. I watch sports usually with 3 people. It's my brother and my dad, and if it's not with them, it's usually just me. And if it's my teams or if it's a great game, I'm like, I don't want to watch with anybody else. Yeah. Like I don't want you. If God forbid the Jets ever make the Super, I hate Super Bowl parties. Hate them with the passion. Give me the Super Bowl where I got me watching by myself all day over a Super Bowl party. I don't care about commercials.
I like a Super Bowl party. I
want to watch the game, but I'm stoked. I'm glad. I'm sad we're the season's almost over, but I'm stoked we're finally at this point. But I'm good. I know we'll be back try to figure out next week what's going on. And we'll, or, you know, maybe not next week, the week after we could get some recap, but we will definitely be back here. But you got anything else for the viewers today, Q?
No, buddy. I think that's gonna be it, man. I will. Yeah, man. We'll figure out a day next week. You know, we can recap. I'm leaving town tomorrow, and I'll be back, you know, Tuesday night. But you know, maybe we can figure something out for you know, a night after that. See what we can.
We don't really have much football to talk about until the 21st. So
yeah,
it'll be
and that all depends on how things go and how much I'm going to want to talk about football. How much I'm going to want to talk about football after that. So we shall see. We shall see how it goes, and hoping for the best. Let's get one last comment in from Come Here Now BT. Notre Dame Penn State was cinema. Yeah, that was a great game, man. Notre Dame Penn State was a really good game in last year's playoff. You know, crazy how, again, how different, you know, how different a year is and what a difference a year makes. And both of those teams are actually home. Notre Dame probably deserved to be in. Penn State, just a disaster of a year. But we'll see what Matt Campbell does for that program and that fan base. I think they overplayed their hand a little bit. They mismanaged it, but they landed what seems like a really good candidate. A guy that the NFL and other big programs have been chasing for the better part of the last 4 or 5 years. So he spent 10 good years at Iowa State. Probably time to move on. To bigger, better things. So good luck to Matt Campbell over at Penn State. But yeah, man, if you got nothing else, man, we'll.
I'm good. I'm gonna
call it a night.
Yeah.
There you go, man. Yeah, go eat and do your thing, man. So for my boy Russ, I am Q. Do us a huge favor, like the show, subscribe to it on YouTube. That really, really help us out. Also go on and subscribe to all the shows on FTSN, FTSN Extra. My boy Bobby, everybody else, Adrian with the Rainy Day Podcast. My boy Will with 305 Sports Now. So on and so forth, man. A lot of good people putting out a lot of good content on both of the networks. So again, like and subscribe. And until next time, we will talk to you soon. Peace.